Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to begin this evening's board meeting. Sergeant at Arms, is the lobby clear? Thank you. We request that all electronic devices be turned off or put in silent mode. Also, please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. I am pleased to welcome you to the September 19th, 2023 school board meeting. The time is 6 p.m. and this meeting is called to order. I just want to remind the public that we are having a gallery walk for the 2023 Designs and Dreams of Young Artists show here in our building. This event is held in our Public Education Center from 5 to 7 p.m. The Designs and Dreams of Young Artists concept was created by Dr. James A. Adams, former Lee County Superintendent of Schools. It was his vision to provide a gallery to public display the finest of our students' artwork. The first art exhibit opened in 1992 and was quickly recognized as the largest display of student artwork in the state of Florida. Today it still holds that distinction. This particular show continues to hold distinction of being the largest student art show in the state of Florida with 600 pieces of student art in our exhibit. We invite you to go and view the art on display in the hallways and in the main lobby. We would like to take this opportunity to remind the members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure each student achieves his or her highest personal potential, and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, presentation of colors and Pledge of Allegiance, recognitions, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under board office, 11 items under academic services, 2 items under business services, 4 items under human resources, 1 item under information systems, 8 items under operations, 1 of which is good cause. Dr. Bernier, would you please provide an explanation of the 1 item for good cause?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the public, there's an item coming this evening. I'm bringing forward a good cause item to award the public-private partnership, a P3 project, to build Hector A. Cafferetta Jr. to a K-8 school located on previously owned school board property. The board's swift action on this item is required so the district still might be able to have a reopening date within the 2025 school year, which will reduce the cost of operation of the temporary campus.
Thank you. As presiding officer, I find there is good cause to add this item to the agenda. And then finally, there's 4 items under the good of the order, other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Mr. Fisher?
Motion to adopt the agenda, including the good cause item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jordan? Would you please record your vote? Motion carries 7-0. As the custom of the board, Ms. Jordan will lead us in the invocation. Afterward, Ms. Patrica will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
At this time, I would like to invite Father Richard Grady from St. Luke's Episcopal Church up to the podium to give the invocation. Father Grady.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we thank you for this community. We thank you that you have a place and a mission for us in this community. We thank you for those who serve in the school district of Lee County. May all who teach and all who learn be guided by your grace. We ask your blessings upon our teachers, administrators, and support staff. We pray particularly for our students and our parents. Lord, grant to this school board the blessing of wisdom, charity, and discernment. that our schools may be lively centers for sound learning and new discovery. We thank you and praise you for all that you've done and for all that you're going to do. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Introducing the cadet who is presenting the national colors for our Pledge of Allegiance tonight is Sergeant Major James Rowan. There he is. Sergeant Major James Rowan is an Army instructor from Bonita Springs High School. Sergeant Major Rowan served 30 years in the Army in numerous assignments and retired as the Operations Sergeant Major for the 44th Infantry Brigade Combat Team. This is Sergeant Major Rowan's second year as a JROTC instructor in the district. Thank you, sir, for your service to our great nation.
Thank you. Presenting the national colors tonight is Cadet Nicholas Cavallo, the Cadet Commander of the Bonita Springs High School Junior ROTC. Cadet Cavallo is on his school's varsity cross-country and track team. He is actively involved in and is the commander of the Bonita Springs High School Junior ROTC Raider team. Cadet Cavallo is currently in the National Technical Honor Society and the National Society of High School Scholars. He is currently applying for an Army ROTC scholarship and wants to attend the University of Tampa. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. This evening's student representative is Michael Menendez. Michael is a senior at Ida Baker High School. He is currently taking 5 classes at Florida Southwestern State College, where he will be finishing his AA degree and his high school diploma simultaneously an entire semester early. Upon graduation, Michael plans to earn his bachelor's in history and will continue his academic journey, hoping to earn his doctorate in education. Immediately after leaving the school district of Lee County, Michael hopes to come right back and to begin his professional career here at the district. He already has a head start as he completed numerous volunteer hours here at the central office. He is grateful to the many teachers who have shaped him and made him want to pursue a career in education in Lee County. Most importantly, his 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Robinson. Please welcome Michael Mendez.
Okay, you can. All right, good evening. Tonight we have one recognition. The 2022 to 2023 Florida Teacher Leader of the Year, presented by Board Chair Armor Persons. Board members, please join me in the pit for recognition.
I would like to invite Alex Dorsansky, principal of Harns Marsh Middle, and Amy French, coordinator, professional development, to please join me at the lectern.
Boy, that was quick.
The School District of Lee County is proud to announce the recognition of the 2022-2023 Florida Teacher Leader of the Year. The School District of Lee County is proud to recognize the 2023 Florida Outstanding Teacher Leader of the Year. Each district nominates a teacher to participate in the Florida Teacher of the Year program. Within the Florida Teacher of the Year program, the Florida Department of Education selects one outstanding teacher leader to recognize. The award is given to a teacher who believes that every student deserves to have a teacher that is better than the best teacher any of us ever had. The Outstanding Teacher Award honors the legacy of exceptional educators and teacher leaders. The school board and superintendent are pleased to recognize the following 2023 Florida Outstanding Teacher Leader of the Year, Mr. Stephen McGinley.
Shake all their hands. Come on over.
Congratulations again. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Attorney DePay Bruno, please address the item of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. School board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. Please complete a public comment card and put it in the basket provided. If you need a public comment card, they are provided by our staff. The rules concerning public comment are posted in the back and will be made from the podium in the front center aisle. Please be advised that the board will not respond during public comment to remarks made by speakers. Concerns will be addressed by the superintendent or his staff as necessary, and the chair may comment as deemed appropriate at the conclusion of public comment, as may the superintendent. The purpose of public comment is to provide feedback on district issues such as duties, responsibilities, decisions, and the general operation of the school district. The school board is viewpoint neutral during public comment. We ask that decorum be kept and respect be shown, which is what is expected when a governmental agency conducts official business. Therefore, abusive language such as cursing, insults, derogatory language levied against an individual or a class of people are prohibited. Further personal attacks such as name-calling are prohibited. In addition, clapping, hissing, and booing, or a display of temper during public comment is prohibited. Speakers who fail to follow proper decorum in the chambers will be ruled out of order by the board chair or the parliamentarian. Any speaker continuing with such remarks will be required to relinquish the microphone per Board Policy 0169.1 and may be removed from the chambers by the Sergeant at Arms. Per Board Policy 0169.1, the time per speaker is 3 minutes if there are 20, 2 minutes if there are 30 speakers, and 1 minute if there are 31 speakers or more. The maximum time allotted for public comment is 1 hour, 60 speakers. You will find a countdown on the big screens in the front of the room. Once your time has elapsed, the microphone will automatically shut off. Please state your name when you approach the microphone. I will call your names 5 speakers at a time. Please follow staff's direction when lining up. Mr. Chairman, there are 29 individuals that wish to speak and address the board this evening. The time per speaker is 2 minutes.
Please ensure you have completed a public comment card if you intend to provide public comment. The card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information for staff to follow up. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the board but did not fill out a comment card? Seeing none, Attorney DePay-Bruno, would you please proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Will the following individuals please line up? Jesse Smith, Todd Disenberry, Heather Ware, Jennifer Edish, Sage Williamson.
Okay, my name is Todd Disenberry, and I'm a Lee County teacher, and I deserve a livable wage. Yesterday at negotiations, and from the school board and the district, we kept hearing we're not going to negotiate in the media. And I was surprised when I got home last night and saw an email from the district stating that everyone got an 8% increase, and $32.8 million was put out there. That was not an option at negotiations yesterday. That was not discussed yesterday, and I think it was very inappropriate to send out to all the staff members. We now have SPALC wanting to know where their 8% is. We have teachers wanting to know if negotiation is already over. So I don't know why we said we weren't going to discuss it in media, and then we turn around and send out an email to district-wide employees, which made my job much harder today. The other thing that's going on, coming in the spring, we're going to be adding more sports. We don't have enough coaches right now as it is. Why would we even consider adding more sports? Teachers, when a teacher comes to class during planning, should they take their work home to complete? Planning, grading papers, mandatory trainings? This is happening every day for many teachers. Will there be consequences for not doing grades, checking papers, or lesson plans? You can't have it both ways. Since the last meeting we had here for school board, there's been 21 more openings for instructional teachers. From the school district site, there's 262 openings as of today. Out of that, there's 116 ESE teachers. As an ESE teacher, I can tell you, support staff is very important. We do not have enough, and we need to support them and get them a living wage too. And I'm going to be run out of time, but Spout definitely deserves a livable wage and not a 2% increase.
Good evening. My name is Jessie Smith, and this is my 12th year teaching at Gateway Elementary. I wanted to start off by saying thank you for bringing up the amount that you're willing to raise our salary. But the 8% was never mentioned last night, and no one ever agreed on that amount. The presumptive email that was sent was not appropriate or appreciated, and if 8% was the final number, it wouldn't be enough, because with a salary that's $50,000, like mine, my check would be $167 more every 2 weeks. That barely covers my power bill. The option that was presented by TELC did address the compression issues. A first-year teacher should not be making the same as a veteran teacher. I'm not saying new teachers shouldn't make $50,000. I'm saying teachers should be compensated for their expertise and experience. On top of that, SPELC employees did not receive the same consideration, and we can't do our jobs without them. They also deserve a livable wage. We have been in the trenches for years now, barely keeping our sanity and scraping by financially, dealing with no subs, packed classes, lack of resources, changing curriculum and laws, along with countless other demands. How can we be a world-class district when teachers and support staff aren't paid enough to survive? We break our backs because we are expected to put students first, but you don't put us first. This is embarrassing for you. Moving forward, I would expect a cost of living adjustment be made for all Lee County employees, SPELC and TELC. We all need a raise too. We have earned it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Heather Ware, and I'm a teacher and an Alva resident. Per the 2020 census, Alvis has 3,013 residents. Current residents is 2,931 residents with approximately 170 high school age students. Yet the Lee County School District wants to build a high school in rural Alva that will house more students than there are residents. Why? So we can bus more students here and have them late? Teachers already have to stay over their contracted hours because our buses are late. We have an extreme shortage of drivers. Some students miss their first period class daily because of late buses. And this will also happen at the high school. And they will lose valuable time in the classroom. If they have an AP class or an honors class, this could be very bad. Most of my students are Lehigh residents. So I would think that the need for the high school would be further down Joel on property y'all own, where most of my students live. The busing would be much easier also. The infrastructure is not safe for a huge school here in Alva. There's accidents daily, and if we add more traffic, this is just going to increase the accidents, and our youth safety will be at risk. We're so far out, we don't have a huge sheriff's presence to enforce traffic laws. They do what they can, and they are wonderful, but we could use more. The Lee County School District does not need our youth being in accidents being on our shoulders due to the negligence of building a school in a place where it's not needed because of infrastructure. It's not designed for it, and we don't need it here. So please vote no on Phase 1 for the Alva High School. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Wendy Sprague, Julie Windham, Grant Fitcher, Heather Rodriguez-Wibbles, and Robert Daniels.
My name is Jennifer Edish. I live in Alva, and I'd like to urge you to vote down Phase 1 for the Alva High School. The person before me could said it much better than I can. The infrastructure and the traffic would be just horrible. You could save a lot more money by moving it down towards somewhere where the infrastructure is already existent. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sage Williamson, and I'm a Spelk member at Cypress Lake High School. About a month ago now, I received a concussion because of a fight that broke out at my school. I do not remember getting hit or being pinned against the wall, but upon watching the video, I was horrified. I'm now constantly on edge when I'm on hallway duty, and I will have many follow-ups in the upcoming months because of it. Several aspects of my work and personal life have been affected by it, yet these students are being allowed to come back at the end of the quarter. I'm disgusted, I'm humiliated, and I'm so angered by the fact that I'm being treated as a disposable human being when my job and health has been impacted so detrimentally. I'm not nearly as upset with the students involved as I am with the district's lack of support for the very staff that continue to come to work, knowing that they could find a better paying job that offers more respect. My question to the board is, what is my incentive to stay? Why am I struggling to make ends meet for a school district that so obviously does not care for its staff? Why am I and so many others staying late and taking work home when many of us aren't making a living wage and have to choose between rent payments, car payments, and food, causing many of this district staff members to live with friends or out of their cars and get additional jobs, which is something I've also experienced. I'm lucky that I don't have children because I cannot imagine the stress of trying to work for this district and raise a family. I chose to follow education to have the same impact my teachers had on me, but there's not a world in which I see myself sticking with that in this county if there's not a change in the dismissive attitude towards school staff, and I know that I'm not alone. Thank you.
My name is Wendy Sprague, and I'm an Alva resident. I'm against building the high school there on Joel, and there's far too much congestion right now. The roads are narrow, there are lots of accidents, and we don't have the infrastructure to support the school, either with water or sewer, septic, whatever. It's going to be really a major project, and improving the roads for buses and parents dropping children off and things like that. We already have a problem finding teachers to teach our students here. We have a problem getting them to school on time with buses, and just adding another school which is further away from where the students need it, towards Lehigh area where there's a higher population of students, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I am against having the school there. On the other hand, I would like to thank all the teachers here and the teachers who aren't here for teaching students. It's a tough job. I really appreciate it. I have no kids of my own. No kids, no grandkids, but I think they're doing a terrific job with what they've got to work with, which apparently is not enough. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Grant Fichter. I want to say thank you to board and your staff, the teachers, the support staff. Appreciate what you do. I'm a 5th generation Alva resident. My family's been involved in education for over a century in the Alva community. My grandmother, Ruth Ann Walker Fichter, attended high school in Alva when it was attended school in Alva when it was a one-room schoolhouse along with my great uncles and aunts. She later went on to become a teacher at Alva. I say that to explain that public education is near and dear to my heart and a large part of the family history and Alva's history. My ancestors worked very hard to ensure that Alva had a school to educate our youth. We appreciate the fact that you all care about our community and want to do what's right for us. We appreciate the superintendent coming to our community meeting and speaking with the residents. It means a lot. With that said, when I look at the current situation and the growth patterns as well as the age demographics, it becomes painfully clear that this is not the right time or place for another Alva school. Being in the transportation design business for over 25 years has shown me how important decisions like this can be to a community, and if not well thought through, can leave lasting negative impacts. There are some major traffic concerns, water and sewer costs, and there is a public safety aspect with the Alva Fire District handling the increased daily population this school will bring. The anticipated population increases are not in Alva, but Lehigh, where thousands of existing residential lots are already platted and zoned. I ask that you find some property in the Lehigh area to better serve the children who will be attending this school. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening to those of us that live in the community and for doing what you do, which is to be the best stewards you can for our children and the taxpayers of our community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having us all here. My name is Julie Windham, and I want to go ahead and agree opposed to the school. It affects every single one of our residents. I did go ahead and send you, each and every one of you, email concerning my concerns and also the Alva residents as well. It will affect us significantly in regards to traffic and so forth. In regards to accidents, you guys, if you have not read the email, please let me know. I'll resend it. But in regards to the traffic-wise, with the school being there, it will only increase it horribly in regards to each and every one of our residents. You know, so the thing is yes, the schools should go to Lehigh, as well as the land that you have, it's taxpayers' money, so why can't we go ahead and just keep it for the wildlife and conservation for our wildlife? So I oppose to the school being there. It should be in Lehigh. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Christy Diva, Denise Everly, Chad Erickson, Andy Erickson, Stacy Eyman.
Hello, my name is Heather Rodriguez-Wibbles. I'm a school counselor at Colusa Middle School. I've worked there for roughly 13 years, and I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love my students, and if you've ever worked in a middle school, you understand what the gravity of that statement is, because I love them, but they are middle schoolers. I come to work today not just for them, but I also have the most amazing colleagues that work tirelessly. We work for student achievement. Our students come from a background of poverty. There's so much happening in their little lives. Besides being middle schoolers, they have trauma, and I wouldn't want to be a teenager growing up right now. I feel bad for them. It's a lot. But my colleagues, we can't do it anymore. We're tired. Teachers, I have a couple of my teachers that haven't had a planning yet. this far into the school year. I know this, everyone's coming and telling you this, but I don't think you understand the gravity of it. Up until last week, I was the only school counselor for over 900 children. If you look at mental health statistics, that should tell you. And the reason why people aren't coming here, all the school counselor groups I'm in, they won't come here because of the laws and the low pay. In fact, my new counselor came from another state. She said it was about a 20 grand pay cut. I love being here, but I will say my wife and I have been looking at other states. Just right now, with my years of experience, I could walk into another state with that 20 grand. I appreciate the effort of extra money, but we need more because we're not cutting it, neither is our support staff. We're drowning, they are dying. Please find more money. We need you to support us with this so we can support the kids the way we have been. Thank you.
My name is Robert Daniels. I'm going to start by saying thank you for restoring the NPO bus services. That was a step in the right direction. As the increase in the bargaining offer last night was a step in the right direction. I'd like to take you back to the year 2003, 2004. I was a junior in high school. I was teaching my first science class as a junior. Our chemistry teacher dislocated a couple ribs. Substitute didn't know the material. I was a teacher's aide. I taught that class how to do stoichiometry. At that time, the average teacher pay was $40,300 in Florida. Adjusted for inflation, that's $68,100. To put it in other terms, at prices at those time, a teacher could buy 23 of these with their hourly pay. Fast forward to 2023. I'm a college-educated teacher. I'm making right at your average of $51,500. I can, on my pay, afford 10 of these for my hourly pay. The gap between that $51,500 and $68,100 is $16,600, or a gap of 24%. The 8% is a step in the right direction. We have 2 more steps to go just to achieve parity with what our teachers taught us when we were in high school. We're not asking for raises, we're asking for a return to normalcy in the teacher pay rates. That gap after the 8% is still, in best case scenario, $12,000. That's an entire year's rent back when rent was a reasonable price. That's half a year's rent now for those unfortunate enough not to own. That's what we're looking for, and Spelk needs it even more. So I hope the good faith effort continues. And the next item that Spelk hears is civil requirement.
Hello again. How are you tonight? Denise Everly, Alva Inc., Director, Chairman of Oversight Committee. To begin, I want it known that the President, Vice President, and 12 directors of Alva Inc. signed the petition that was submitted to you in opposition to the high school at the location chosen, Tuckahoe and Joel. Many residents also signed that, to date 183, and I represent those that are not here. Many couldn't show up because of the weather. I feel the people of Alva have given valid and significant testimony and data that this is not where the high school should go. Your own graphs show it should be built within Lehigh where it's needed, within the desert zones. The district does own property within these zones or within close proximity that has all required infrastructure. I think it is a great disservice to the children and the students of Lehigh that you're not choosing to put a school in Lehigh, but you're putting it miles out. They shouldn't have to endure long bus rides to the furthest northeast corner of Lee County. I will repeat, not one child will be able to walk or ride a bike to this proposed site. Vote no on Phase 1. It is a waste of $7 million. We have very diligently educated you on the tens of millions more it would cost the taxpayers, us, to build there above the estimated $140 million to build just the school and the impacts to the very sensitive environment surrounding it.
Good evening, board. Appreciate your time listening to us. Excuse me. My name is Chad Erickson. I'm a native to Lee County, resident of Alva, former teacher of Lee County, was sitting in your shoes as an educator years ago. So I do understand the importance of education, but I do strongly object to Phase 1 being pushed forward for Alva. It doesn't make sense to bus in 90% of the students that would be for that school. The census tells you there's less than 200 kids in Alva that are of the age that would actually be using the school. It doesn't make sense to bus kids from Lehigh to Alva when we already have traffic jams on Joel and 80 on a daily basis. My concerns are obviously with the accident yesterday. It's a daily, weekly occurrence. State Road 80 was shut down for hours. How do we respond to that? With our EMTs and our firemen, if there is another emergency that needs to be taken care of. It just doesn't make sense in the location of where it is. I ask you and plead with you as the board to look at something that's a smarter option. I do agree the growth is needed, the schools are needed, but it just doesn't make sense in the location that you've chosen to move forward with. So I ask you strongly to oppose against Phase 1 moving forward. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Andy Erickson. I'm also a DAC member for many years. I'm also the DAC representative for Alva School. I think there's going to be a problem with putting a high school where you're talking about putting it. Because one thing, there's the homes that are around the high school are older homes, most of them, and they have shallow wells. With shallow wells, and you're going to draw a bunch of water for the high school, will cause a drop in these shallow wells, and all of a sudden there's going to be people having problems with that. The other thing is high school students, they like to drive fast, and they don't like to wait in line. But I live on a street that is only 18 feet wide. The only way you can pass someone is hug the curb, hope you don't go in the ditch, and then you pass, because there's not much room. So it's the narrowest road up there. And yet these high school kids will be zooming down there, and I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of accidents. So that's another problem. It just doesn't make sense when you talk about our supposedly our area that we are Schedule 3, whatever it's called, goes way into Lehigh. Why, I don't know. And you're going to be busing a lot of kids from there. So again, we're trying to get away from a lot of busing. Here we're putting a school from the far end, one end, and they're going to mostly come from the other end. And that doesn't make a lot of sense either. So I'm totally against it. I haven't heard anybody in Alva that said this is a great thing to have. I haven't had anybody say that. And I get around. I talk to a lot of people. I also live in Alva, right on Stiles, that's short, so I'm very aware of that.
Thank you, sir. Will the following individuals please line up? Dan Powers, Holly Yatalo, Jamie Klingensmith, Alan Klingensmith, Kyle Wade,
Hi, my name is Stacy Eyman. I appreciate all you guys do for the kids, and I would like to oppose the Alva School. I can speak from experience. The traffic is not good. I've been in 2 car accidents sitting at the light at Joel and 80. One of them being with a dump truck. Luckily, it wasn't loaded because I would not be standing here. So just imagine what the traffic would be like with that. And then not too long ago, my daughter came across the one with multiple children in it, that was a rollover over by Greenbrier. I don't know if you guys have heard about that accident. She rolled up on that one after it had happened. So just imagine all those little kids on a bus and nobody paying attention and something happens. That is not a very good area, not a wide area, not a place for a bus to be able to pull over if something does happen. They're going to be in the way. So I just hope you guys choose against placing it there on Tuckahoe and Joel. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you guys are going to love me tonight. I'm coming up with a little different change of pace. Christy Diva here, and I'm actually coming up to give some kudos to a couple of people in the district. I had an issue come up with my daughter at her high school recently, and I've been an advocate for many years here in Lee County, and I have been in this situation numerous times before, and I've watched it get botched. Every single time, you know, and this particular time with this incident, everything was handled. Everything was handled just so beautifully and efficiently, from the administration all the way to the SROs and everyone at the district that I spoke to, including Board Member Fisher. You know, I appreciate all around how the situation was handled, and I know you guys get a lot of flack, including from me, so I figured I would come up here and publicly say thank you for helping me with my issue. Now, have fun with the rest of them.
Hi, good evening, school board. I'm Dan Powers. I live on the east side of Tuckahoe. I talked to you all about a month ago, and I've sent you a few emails. My neighbors have already discussed all the points I've had on, so we'd like to ask you to vote no on the Joel and Tuckahoe site. We feel the site down in Lehigh would be more appropriate, and we ask you to vote no and help to keep Alva rural.
Hello, Alan Klingensmith, Alva resident for 30 years, and I sent a message to the school board, and I thank Debbie and Jada and Sam for replying. I thought I'd never be against a school project because I spent 39 years at the same school, and I helped rebuild North Fort Myers Academy for the Arts. But in the case of high school, NNN, and the RR middle school, I am opposed for several reasons. First reason is this massive school complex does not meet the needs of the community. Very few Alva students would benefit from this site. Most of the school population would have to be bused into the area from Lehigh Acres. This is a direct conflict with the current effort to assign students to local schools and elementary schools, and in the future, middle and high schools. The land in this area is rural and populated mostly by seniors 59 years and older. My second reason is the cost of bringing water and sewer to the site. This has been estimated from $10 to $30 million. Is this a logical stewardship of our school construction dollars? And finally, the area is adjacent to the Alva Scrub Preserve, which is part of a wildlife corridor to Hickey's Creek to the west. Development at the site would mean road improvements, heavy traffic, and other impediments to wildlife not intended for the preserved concept. I recommend the schools be built in an area where the students live and this land be sold to recoup the funds expended. Final question, would you build this school in Sanibel or Fort Myers Beach or Pine Island? I don't think so. Alva doesn't need it either. Thank you very much.
Will the following individuals please line up? Kyle Wade, Jack Sadin, Dan Skeen, Connie Dennis, Roxanne Gauss, Lou Navarro.
Hello, and thank you for your time. My name is Kyle Wade. I am a graduate of FGCU. Unlike a lot of people you have heard here tonight, I am not a native Floridian. I originate from Northeast Pennsylvania. I came down to FGCU to go to school. Not only am I an environmental science major and graduate from that school, but I have remained down here since 2011, which is a vast difference from a lot of my other graduates who have since left the state. One of the things that I pride myself in is staying down here and being part of this community. I currently am building a house in Alva, and it is less than 1.1 mile from the proposed site. With that being in mind, I have spent my own money. I do own my own business, and I have made my choices very carefully since graduating in 2010 to provide myself with not only my own residence, which will be my first home outside of where I currently live in Lehigh, but this choice was made based on the history of Alva being one of the few gems left in Lee County that we can rely on for its environment. So I plead with you very, very much so that you consider your choices wisely, look at the students, and above all, let's consider the environment. The one thing that Lee County is continually slacking on with all the condos, anything that you can imagine in between that does not need to happen and everyone's chasing money, let's look at the environment on this, because this area does not warrant a school off of Tuckahoe and Joel. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, my name is Holly. I'm a Michigan native, and I came to live in Florida because I was sent by the Lord. Part of that, I've joined this Moral Awakenings Committee, and in the Moral Awakenings Committee, we desire to see more of God in your schools. So I'm first going to let God's Word do what God's Word does, which is cut between the marrow and the bone. Concerning elders, the elder who performs their leadership duties well are to be considered worthy of double honor, financial support, especially those who work hard at preaching and teaching the Word of God concerning eternal salvation. For the Scripture says, "You shall not muzzle the ox while it is treading out the grain, to keep it from eating, and the worker is worthy of his wages. He deserves fair compensation." I come at you with a unique perspective because I too am a teacher. I looked into teaching when I first got here, and I was horrified at the wage difference between Michigan and Florida schools. I come to you and I say, if you want to recruit teachers, you guys are going to have to do more. I feel bad that there's a 260 plus teacher shortage, and you have a teacher with soon to have her doctorate that wouldn't even consider working in your school system. And I'm not saying this because I want to apply. I'm just saying this based on what I've heard the last few school meetings, because we got to fix this crisis. This is a crisis. You guys need to increase your wages. It's stagnant, and it's not going to attract any good people to your pool. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dan Skeen, and I'm a retired biology professor from a small liberal arts college in Michigan who just moved to Albion in the summer of 2022. And, you know, one of the great freedoms we have in this country is choosing where we want to live. And we didn't choose to live in Albion, many of us here, for its sandy beaches or its wonderful shopping and restaurants. Well, Leo's is pretty good, and Alva Diner, of course, are okay. But we chose it for its rural character and the way it is, and its small school where everyone knows everyone else. I live in downtown Alva, right near the post office, and it's a special place. And one of the reasons we moved there, and a reason that I'm against this project, is because of the rural nature of the area. It's rural, beautiful, scenic cow fields and disappearing citrus, but the nature preserves that are all through there. And we need to very carefully consider, in addition to all the costs and infrastructure concerns that have been discussed, basically God's creation of all those different plants and animals that live there, including endangered species. And it's part of an important wildlife corridor from Hickey Creek across that region, and we're in an area where there are many species. Well, it's not, there are species that are protected under the Endangered Species Act, and of course gopher tortoises, which are not federally protected, but they have protection under Michigan law. So I think like Kyle, I think we need to consider the environment there, and I am very much opposed to proceeding with the school.
Good evening. My name is Connie Dennis, and I'm president of Alva Inc. I want to thank you for giving Alva Inc. a chance to publicly express our concerns before making a decision about spending $7 million for stage 1. We appreciate Dr. Malloy's presentation and how he listened and took notes from the members of the Alva community. I'm concerned about the safety of every person and every animal that would be affected by this building. And everybody else has said everything I wanted to say. I taught at Alva School. When I taught 8th grade at Alva, most every single student chose to go to Riverdale High School. All their friends would be there, and most of the students had a parent or a grandparent who attended Riverdale. There's a strong loyalty to Riverdale, and it's a good school. There's a lot of great programs at that school. I believe I heard mention of possibly adding agriculture courses when the new building is completed. This would make Alvanians happy. I urge you to approve, not to approve phase 1 of the high school. Thank you.
Will the following individuals please line up? Patrick Finkler, Caroline Ferguson, Joseph McGuire, Amanda Cochran, Beatrice Annie, Sean Clausen.
Hello, my name is Roxanne Goss. I was one of the speakers at our joint meeting in Alva with the school with Dr. Malloy. I think Dr. Shaker sent you my PowerPoint, so I hope you had a chance to review it. I listed all the concerns that we had that I thought would impact Alva and also the school. So for tonight, we only have a short period of time. I'm just going to focus on one thing. First, I want to say is please vote no on the phase 1 for the high school, NNN. I am asking you to protect and preserve the Conservation 2020 preserve land that make up the 4-mile east-west wildlife corridor by voting no on the phase 1 for the land that you are considering building 2 new schools for 5,000 students and staff on the adjacent property to the north that is located along the center of the preserve land. These proposed schools with the high density of humans will effectively destroy the use of the corridor for wildlife. It is the exact opposite of what Lee County Schools should be teaching the young people in this area on how to respect and preserve the environment and the wildlife that live there. The wildlife corridor consists of 2,000 acres extending from Hickey Creek's Mitigation Park all the way across Joel Boulevard to the eastern side of Edwards Drive. Lee County has been acquiring that land for the past 20 years, since 1999, and at the cost of over $18 million. This wildlife corridor is irreplaceable. And once it is gone, once you put a school and a stadium and night lights and sidewalks and 4-lane roads, it will be gone forever. And one thing I can say, I'm a retired engineer. I've seen engineers try to rehabilitate land and put it back.
Thank you, ma'am.
We can't do it.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board, Lunavar, retired teacher. Tonight we're going to talk about saving public education. If you had a visual, which you denied me, and we are taking this up, there's a letter over there, you could see it. But I'm going to go over it as quickly as possible. But I just decided, though, to ask you, why put a high school in Alva when you're not going to have teachers to teach there? Base raise salary to 65 now. It went up. There's a senator that's going to propose that in the legislature. And increase longevity pay. Don't play that game like the governor did. Cover the 3% retirement. When I started teaching in '72, FRS promised to I never paid a dime in it. Continue full health insurance for the single teacher. Pay for the master's degree, whether they're in field or out of field. Restore a PPC type contract. Take it up with the legislature. Pay for courses at FGCU, SFW. They used to encourage that when I first got here. Let's do women's parity, okay? Stop add a political football. And we're going to close with God, not guns, or professionalism, not pistols. That's a shame. Oh, I got 21 seconds. Let me see what else I want to say here real quickly. This is it. We're going to save education, not Private Ryan, and I made it into a plane. I'm going to give it to my friend Jennifer. My students used to make these. It's called aerodynamics in 6th grade science. Thank you. I don't know when you all are going to wake up.
Good evening. Patrick Finkler. It's great to be back here. I want to thank the commissioners who were either listening on the Zoom or came out. Really appreciate your time coming out to Alva. Also, I want to thank Dr. Malloy for coming out and his presentation, as well as spending the Friday morning with me, early morning, to drive around the Alva community, including where the site is, and then down into Lehigh. One thing that I realized we were driving around, or after we were driving around, is I think there's a need to revisit the school strategy on these large mega schools. The proposed schools that are going to go there are 5,000, as you know. I think these are large schools. We've heard many meetings where we have people who are coming down here and talking about busing, getting people to school, all this. I think if we look at smaller schools that are neighborhood focused, we maybe have an opportunity to build on other sites that are owned. We have land that's available to the south. I know it's not the 50 acres that are needed, but if we look at the smaller schools, we may have an opportunity to build schools down where they're needed and smaller schools that are focused on in the neighborhood. I think another thing I realized was building schools on that site there in Joel and Tuckahoe is to pull people to Alva. Countless people are coming up here for all the reasons why not to build it there. I think a big concern, Roxanne did a great job at, and others talking about the environmental concerns as well as the habitats that will be destroyed. I think that is an important thing. Again, I come here and talk about the fiscal responsibility of overspending on school sites. Are we going to overspend on this one if we build that here, and why are we wasting $7 million on that? Finally, facility development process, I think it needs to take a look at, because I think this needs to happen earlier in the process. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Thank you for taking the time to listen. My name is Carrie Ferguson. I'm a special education teacher in the District of Lee County. We all needed and had a teacher in our life. We wouldn't be where we are today without a teacher. So if we look at that, we need to take into consideration the needs of teachers right now. We can't pour from empty cups and take care of these students like we want to, especially in special education. Our support staff, I think their salary is pretty disrespectful. We could not do our jobs without all the support staff. So before this county is going into catastrophe mode, we're already in a crisis. Please take into consideration whatever the bargaining unit is saying. We did get an email saying 8%. That is truly not enough. We appreciate coming forward with more money, but we truly need more in order to be able to live, to be able to do our jobs, to not worry every night, to not be able to sleep, to know that we don't have enough teachers to manage these caseloads, that our students aren't getting the services that they need and deserve. So please give Lee County teachers and support staff a living wage. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joe McGuire. I'm an Alva resident and the father of 4 boys, one of which is a 4th grader at Alva School and would likely attend the high school. I'm opposed to it, but I'm opposed to it for all of the reasons that you've heard and maybe some that haven't resonated. There are multiple agencies in this county that do planning. Almost unanimously, they agree that growth is coming. They also agree that the growth that is coming is not in the Alva region where you're putting the school. If you pick the wrong location, you will have to bus the students. Busing is not something that the district has a great reputation or a good handle on. The other reason that the location of the school is bad is a lack of infrastructure and a need to move up funding on many spectrums in order to fill the gaps necessary to make a safe school at that site. But let's talk fiscal responsibility for a moment. In the August 16th board meeting of the current and ongoing projects, $273 million was being spent. 468 was the new total, a change of 174%. If you build this school in this location, 140 million will be the entry point. Tens of millions more will be required. It is not a fiscally responsible decision. My asks of you are threefold. Pull the item from the consent agenda, be transparent, discuss it. Number 2, vote against it. And number 3, put put the property back where it was on the surplus list and find another spot. Thank you.
My name is Amanda Cochran, Alva resident. Thank you for the opportunity to hear our concerns regarding such important decisions. I am in full support of students having access to schools that serve them well for all the reasons it should, including location. I am opposed to the proposed high school in Alva. Of all the reasons that have already been stated this evening, as significant as they are, lack of infrastructure, lack of population, poor stewardship of funds, environmental concerns, and so on, in my humble opinion, life safety should top the list. At the risk of sounding sensational, I would like to speak on behalf of the families that will most definitely grieve the loss of loved ones as a direct result of the, if I may be honest, irresponsible overdevelopment in an area that clearly cannot support it. The loss of life that will most definitely occur due to the overdevelopment is preventable. With all due respect, please let responsible common sense prevail.
Good evening. I am an Alva resident. I am against the building side of the school. It does not fit in with the character of the community, and it would be I think it would be a mistake to put the school there. I know, of course, it don't affect any of you people here, so it really don't, you guys don't really care, but it does affect people, and it does affect the environment. Thank you.
Her name?
Ma'am, could you please state your name? Is it Beatrice?
Yes, it is.
Beatrice Annie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Sean Clausen. I am an Alva resident. I live on Tuckahoe. My concern is to vote no against this school. I know there are a lot of us out there in Alva. We are a rural community. We do enjoy our Second Amendment. We do have lots of outdoor gun ranges there. I do wonder how often this school is going to be on lockdown because of us out there shooting with our outdoor gun ranges. Thank you.
If the following individuals still wish to speak, they may line up. Jamie Klingensmith and Jack Saden. Jamie Klingensmith or Jack Saden? Mr. Chairman, it does not appear that there are any more speakers for this evening.
Thank you. And thank you for all that spoke tonight. Next is approval of action items under consent. The documentation.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're correct.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the community, first of all, to all the Alva residents, thank you for not only your presentations this evening, but for your hospitality as members of the staff came out and met with you in your community and really worked very hard to better understand and better inform the board related to the decisions they're making this evening. I won't argue point by point. I don't think that's the point of you coming to the podium. I think you coming to the podium is to express your interest, inform this board of what concerns you. And I can tell you that the only piece of umbrage I would take is to one of the speakers who said we don't care. I think we care very much. I think we care very much about the students we're responsible to educate. We care about your rural environment. and there's always a balance to every decision. And I know the 7 board members here will make the most informed decision that they possibly can make, not only based upon the information you've brought to the table, but by bringing information and questions to be answered, the information that its staff, county commission, and other planning organizations have brought to the table as well. So I just thank you again for your input and your process. To our teachers and staff, yes, there was a message put out about the evening's bargaining session. We wanted everyone to know that a substantial offer to TALC, proposing a base salary increase of $32.8 million was put on the table. This was done because this money was originally earmarked in our budget as a comprehensive salary study, and the dollars necessary to result, the dollars that would be necessary potentially to the results of that study in order to true up people and ensure that our compensation packages met what a good salary study would do for this district. However, after listening at the last board meeting and listening again tonight, we decided to call an executive session with our board, and we asked them and us to heed the immediate call for action of our dedicated staff. Let me be clear about what I mean about staff. Staff means TALC, it means SPALC, it means Schedule N, and it means our administrators as well. Again, this gesture and this announcement yesterday was perfectly reflected by the public comments that were made in the meeting. It will be up to the bargaining session to determine how to deal with that $32.8 million. But I also ask everybody who's listening to take into consideration what this board has also done at the approximate amount of $19 million other dollars. $19 million other dollars have already been spent to ensure that our employees will pay nothing additional when it comes to their insurance costs. Their amount that they have to contribute does not change, and the amount of what is referred to commonly as medical inflation has been absorbed by this board to the tune of just short of or just over $19 million. You add that to the $32 million that was put on the table for TALC, then you understand approximately what we're dealing with in terms of numbers, especially when we know we have to be fair and considerate of all of our employee groups. I hear, and I think the board hears what you're saying, we respect it, but we also live in a state where we have to balance a budget and ensure that we have not only the ability to pay our people, but the ability to run our organization as well. Thank you for your continued commitment to coming to the podium. I look forward to further updates from our bargaining sessions, not only with the TALC, but with our SPALC individuals, and then eventual settlement with our administrators and our Schedule N employees as well. What's good for one is good for all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you. Next is the approval of the agenda under consent. The documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 days before the board meeting. We're expected to review all material and have an opportunity to speak with the superintendent with any questions we may have regarding recommendations of some of these items. Some of these items have also been briefed or workshopped with the board before appearing on the action agenda. Board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda? Mr. Fisher?
I have no said items.
Mrs. Giovanelli?
I have none, thank you.
No, thank you.
Ms. Jordan?
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
I have none.
Ms. Morgan?
I have none.
And I am pulling for discussion, is it L7, NNN? Is there a motion to approve the agenda consent action items with the exception of the pulled item L7? Ms. Jordan?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written with the exception of the pulled item L7.
Okay. Is there a second? Ms. Giovanelli? Would you please record your vote? These consent items, with the exception of L7, passes 7-0. Dr. Bernier, would you please introduce any administrators in attendance with the new assignment that was approved?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'll be happy to do that. With your actions this evening, passing the consent agenda, I would like to welcome Williamson to assume the Director of Risk Management in the Risk Management Department with our Chief Financial Officer and Financial Division. Congratulations to Mr. Wilson. With a transfer or change in assignment, I'd like to recognize Kevin Krell. His location now will be the Coordinator of Adult and Career Education with the Career and Technical Education Department. Also like to welcome aboard with a change of transfer and assignment, Carolyn Marsh, who will now be the Assistant Principal at Mariner High. And finally, this evening, with your actions, Tammy Scott will now become within Student Services the Director of Constituent Services and Student Discipline. As with all appointments, my reminder to all of you is really twofold. One, that these appointments come with a very clear condition of trust that you will do and act accordingly to our board policies, to the laws of this great state, and that you will continue to abide by yourself, especially those of you and all of us realize that we directly or indirectly impact the children that that is so important for us to serve. Secondly, I'd like to recognize many of you have support around you this evening, whether they be husbands, wives, extended school families. All of that family is going to be counted on in these new positions. So please take the opportunity, as soon as the chairman allows this evening, please take the opportunity to go out and enjoy this evening, enjoy the appointment, and know that the great work begins effectively tomorrow. So congratulations all.
Those that were recognized, you can leave now if you would like and go party. But don't be late for school.
Don't suffer.
Dr. Bernier, would you please read your recommendation for the pulled item L7?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, members of the public. The item pulled is L7, the approval of the Phase 1 pre-construction budget estimate in the amount of $6,785,469 for the NNN High School new construction. Approval authorizes the superintendent to execute all necessary documents. That's the item, sir.
Is there a motion to adopt Dr. Bernier's recommendation? Ms. Jordan?
I move to adopt the superintendent's recommendation for L7.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Fisher? The item has been moved by Ms. Jordan and seconded by Mr. Fisher. Is there any discussion? Mr. Patrica?
May I ask for a bit of a departure from protocol? Typically, the person that polls is the person that speaks first, but you're the chair, so you don't want to speak first. Can we allow the chair the opportunity to speak first? If you want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
I pulled this item because I just felt we needed to discuss it one more time. I know we have looked at all sorts of angles here. There's obviously two sides of this. The Alva community, number one, wants to retain their rural character. I'm not as worried about the safety on the roads. Yes, there'll be increased traffic, but most of it will be coming from south. And probably will be put into the property before it even gets to Tuckahoe. I don't see that being the main entrance. We'll have our own entrance because of as it was said, the majority of the students will be coming just south of y'all from the Lehigh area. So they will not be coming from the Alva area. As you said, there aren't that many students. The property itself seems to sit almost in Lehigh. It is, yes, it is in Alva, don't get me wrong, but it is close to where Lehigh starts there. And just a couple of miles down the road, there's all the plots. I've looked on the map and from there. The other side is we need a school. We have to have it by 2025, which means we got to start right away. So I was going to ask the superintendent what other options we have, and what is the plan for the utilities.
So the projected population growth associated out near this particular school site include east subzones 3 and 2, commonly known for you as E3 and E2. Those are those geographic areas where we watch student growth and make some determinations. Both those areas support the use of the Joel Tuckahoe site, which we've owned for quite a period of time, into high school and NN. The projected number of high school students in E3 is 3,543 for the 23-24 school year, and that grows to 5,682 by 32-33. The current estimate high school capacity in E3 is only 1,929. It's important to note that the families residing in E3 also get to rank schools in E2. So again, this is, I know as we moved through elementary proximity last year, we cleaned up a lot of this E1, E2, A3, but we've not done anything with our high schools, and middle school is the next one on the docket. I do want to make the comment that school NNN would draw students from Alva, but also from the entire E2 and E3 subzones. This is very similar to how Alva K-8 draws its students in the assignment system. The actual majority of the Alva school students reside in Lehigh Acres, and we have information that we've shared with you that have shown those numbers. The other aspect is with utilities. Yes. With utilities, the property does not come currently with utilities on its site. The School District of Lee County has 2 methods available to provide water and sewer, but only one is acceptable to this board and to this superintendent. We prefer the opportunities to be brought via FGUA to the campus site, which would reduce the long-term maintenance costs of any type of on-site treatment or drilling. FGUA is a private company, and if given the service area, SDLC would be responsible for the costs to bring the water and sewer to the NNN site. Civil engineers have provided confirmation that FGUA utilities can be drawn to the property. Phase 1 will determine the exact engineering logistics of bringing those utilities to the site.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Mrs. Morgan, we'll start down there.
I have to say that as a citizen of Lee County, I'm disappointed it's come to this. I don't think we should be building here. I will say that, and I have to give some context. This is a county that doesn't plan. It builds where it wants to build. It doesn't provide or require builders to set aside land for libraries, for schools, for green space, for fire stations, etc. The consequence of that is that we are left looking at sizable pieces of property that are not allowable for commercial building, but are allowable for public building. And that is how we've ended up where we are. I am incredibly sympathetic to the people in Alva. I do not like to see what we in Lee County are doing with respect to the environment and conservation. But as a board member, I have an obligation to provide seats for students. And so I will support the phase 1 so we can pin down the real costs associated with this. But I wanted my colleagues to know, and I will also say that I am a little bit concerned with the internal planning that took place, not recently, but prior to the arrival of the current superintendent, that basically made a determination that this was the direction we were going to go, to the point where we had no opportunity to sit back and reflect. So I felt the community was obligated to know that I am conflicted about doing this. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I want you to know that I've heard you. But I feel obligated to provide seats for students, so I am prepared to proceed with phase 1. Thank you.
Ms. Langford-Fleming.
I want to go ahead and apologize if I take a little longer this evening on my comments, and stop me and come back to me if you feel like we need to. This has really been something I have thought about since it came to be several meetings ago. Many of you out in the audience who are not generational Floridians may not know that I'm a 7th generation Floridian from a little town called LaBelle, Florida. My entire life I drove up and down Highway 80. So I understand what you're saying when you're telling me I have lost friends on that road. I grew up on that road when it was 2 lanes, and then when it went to 4, that was great for a time, but has become dangerous yet again. I'm also a mother of 3 children. I also have 2 nephews and a niece who I adore, who travel up and down that road 5 to 6 times a week. Chairpersons is right. When we are talking about the traffic that's probably going to be utilized going to the school, it is coming from the south end of Joel. However, Joel is such an old road that my Uncle David is the one who built the road. And he passed away a couple of years ago at 91 years old, okay? So I know the history of the location. I am concerned, and I completely agree with all of Mrs. Morgan's comments about the environmental dangers that we are tapping into. I fear that if a phase 1 is approved and we get in there with our environmental engineers and they realize, I know that the gopher tortoises are no longer on the protected list, but there are many other wildlife creatures that are, and I do know, whether they're spotted or not, live on that property. So my fear is we get into this and then you're ceased on any kind of building until those animals are gone. Red cockaded woodpeckers, I know we want to protect our panthers for certain. The caracara bird that somebody else had emailed me about, I completely understand all of that. So when I think about this, I do feel like I do want to make sure we have exhausted all efforts as a district, even on our smaller parcels of land closer to 82. Have we been able to find anything where a school that could, where the students that need it the most, it's there? Because yes, we are going to have transportation problems. I'm fully aware of that. Now I'm going to come at you at a flip side. Again, I apologize, I'm taking a while. Hypothetically speaking, we try to sell the land. As stated before, it was somebody mentioned something about this is the state's land, let it just be. That's really not the case. We do have a fiscal responsibility not to sit on vacant land on your dollars. Let's hypothetically say we put the property up for sale. This is a huge piece of land. It's also sparked something in my mind that some of the only people that would build this or buy this land would be investors that are going to build single-family homes. And so this land is still going to be constructed on. They're still going to have water issues. You're still going to have well issues. So these are all the things, please know that when I'm thinking about voting, these are all the things I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of the devil's advocate, and I'm thinking as a seventh generation Floridian that whoever said there's these few gems left in our state is right. There are. And so it's been an incredibly hard decision. I did listen in on the Zoom at all of the constituents' concerns, and they are all valid statements. So I'll end on this, and then I'll stop talking. I'm sorry. In the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks, however long this has come about, not one person from that area and that zone has come to tell this board, please build this school. And I answer to the taxpayers and the voters of Lee County. That's all I have.
Ms. Jordan?
Thank you, Ms. Fleming. I really appreciate everything that you had just spoken about. I actually did go to the meeting, and prior to going to the meeting, I went to the Alva Diner. I sat there and I spoke to the people that were actually in there. It's a great place to go and talk to everybody. And actually, one person, and it was a student, that said a positive thing about a school. Everyone else did not. And then I still had time, so I drove around on the streets, which the streets are absolutely insane. They're worse than the North Fort Myers. There is no place for walking, and you are definitely in a ditch if you were. I was actually looking for the gentleman with the coffee. I never found him. But in saying that, I've been here for a very long time. I remember back in the days when they were talking about, you know, the rural areas and the 2020, and that goes way back with Brian Bigelow, way back when. And Alva stood really strong and made sure that, you know, they kept that safe, that area safe. So in driving around there, I couldn't figure out where to go, you know, how were our students going to get there? Where were our students at? I was looking for them. Where would I find those students at? And I couldn't find them. And then also with the, Sean, I think it was, who was speaking about the guns. That really stuck to me when you spoke about that at that meeting, and then you reiterated it here tonight. What do we do? You know, every time a gun goes off, are we going to have to go into lockdown? What happens? That's not good. It's not good for anybody. And I know we still have the one place that we're building that we already have on the other side of Lehigh. And I get it, Lehigh is booming, we need places for our kids. But it's really, I don't know if I could even vote for this today because of the fact that of the water and, you know, where that's gonna come from. And then, you know, and I know the FGUA, I'm not sure where they're bringing that from or how far that is or what the cost is and all the animals and everything else in on that property. I saw the pictures. I read every single email, and that's where I'm at. It's rough.
Ms. Patrica.
Thank you. So thank you to the individuals that came forward to speak tonight, not just on this, but on all issues. And thank you for the emails that you've sent. They have been consumed. I was speaking with the superintendent, I think on a different issue, and I told him that one of the hardest things about being a school board member is relying on data. So people come forward at a school board meeting, or they stop me in a grocery store, and they tell me their personal stories, which are anecdotes. I can't rely on anecdotes when I make decisions for a $2.7 billion budget. I can sympathize, I can hear your experiences, and unlike Dr. Bernier, I'm not going to go point for point, but over the past several weeks and during that meeting out in Alva, I did hear some themes emerge. So I'd like to respond to those themes so that you understand I have heard you, and I want you to understand my thought process. So 2020 land, from what I understand, abuts the land where this school will be. What land is purchased and what land is not purchased, that's a decision made by our county commission. And they make that decision based on the experts that advise them. I am not on the county commission. They have decided not to purchase that land. We own that land for the purpose of building a school. So I can't, it's not 2020 land. I'm not frustrating the purpose of 2020 conservation land by approving phase 1. Likewise, the roads out in that area are controlled by the county. I mean, they will tell us if we need a signal or if we need a turn lane, and we will be responsible for putting those in, but the county relies on their experts that work on their staff to determine what roads are appropriate to maintain safety and appropriate traffic flow in every area of the county that's not incorporated. Understand, I've heard a lot of people say, where are the teachers going to come from? You can't hire enough teachers now, where are the teachers going to come from? In my mind, that is irrelevant to the decision to building a school.
Mr. Chairman.
Please, yes.
We are making major changes to our human resources department. It is a problem. And I believe the superintendent and his staff are on top of it. By the time this school is built, I believe that will be a problem that is well addressed. Spending $7 million is the fiscally responsible thing to do, in my opinion. Ms. Morgan, I remember watching school board meetings about Bonita Springs High School and deciding whether that school should be built in that spot. And I remember watching those meetings, running for school board and thinking, I'm so glad I don't have to make that decision. And now I find myself in a similar position because we have community members here who are against the building of a school. The difference between today and then is that we have a phased building process. This phase of the building process, Superintendent, correct me if I'm wrong, this phase will allow us to get our arms around what the actual cost is.
That's correct. What comes out of this is a phase 2, potentially a phase 2 recommendation. To Board Member Morgan's point, it could stop dead in its tracks based upon what people see, what people find. But what will come out of this, if it was to proceed, would be a guaranteed maximum price.
Exactly, and the superintendent and his staff may come back to us after phase 1 is completed and this board decides that it is cost prohibitive to hook up to water, or it is cost prohibitive to remove the wildlife, or to redirect the sheet flow or the water that goes over the land. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an environmentalist, I just know we've built a couple of buildings, and I know that these are the things that we hire experts to determine, and I trust those experts. Sensitive environment, yes, it is a sensitive environment, and the state has laws in place that we have to follow in order to protect the land, the water runoff, the native species, whether they be endangered or not. That is an expense to us, and that expense might be too high when we get to the end of phase 1, or it might not be. I don't know. We don't know until we engage in that. And the fiscal irresponsibility came when we decided to build Bonita Springs High School without knowing the answers to those questions. We did not have a phase 1 that told us that there was potentially dangerous material under the soil, or that there were other issues that presented itself after we really dug into that land. So I believe this is the fiscally responsible way to go about this. Smaller schools are tremendously inefficient. Multiple administrations and the salaries that go along with those in order to run a school that educates the same number of children, it's inefficient, and it's a big part of the reason why this board struggled so hard with deciding to rebuild out on Fort Myers Beach. Question has been presented, what if we put the schools near where I live? We frequently do get pushback from residents when we decide to build a school in an area. This is not the first time we've had a lot of people in our boardroom saying, please don't build a school here, please don't build a school here. I propose to you that building a school is not a punishment to a community. And somebody at the Alva meeting said that to me. can we please try to convince everyone that building a school is not a punishment? And I remember Representative, help me with her name, she's new, she lives down in...
Tiffany Esposito.
Representative Esposito, at the time the school district of Lee County was building Bonita Springs High School, wrote a letter to the editor, or an editorial, because there was a lot of pushback in the community about building the school there. And she said, essentially, this is not a punishment. We are not building a prison. We are not building a rehab facility. We are building a school for children. And the way I look at a school is that it's a gift. It's an opportunity for the community to get involved. It's an opportunity for the community to shape the culture of the school. It's an opportunity for the community to change a child's life, or to change a lot of children's lives, depending on how you decide to approach it when and if it is built. So for the reasons that I have stated, and because we need seats for students, I will be supporting the superintendent's recommendation. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Ms. Giovanelli?
Thank you. First of all, I am a Riverdale graduate, grew up out east, grew up in the area. Quite frequently, a lot of friends and family live out there, so I do understand what your Alva residents are saying. My concern is, I brought this up earlier, but 4 years ago we were trying to decide to build in Tuckahoe, Joel area, or Gateway, and at the time Gateway prevailed. But no one's, actually people in Alva were fighting for the school. So unfortunately, I'm a little confused at this point, and I've heard what you've been saying, but we had no one opposing it. Like, I mean, I wrote it down. We have over 30 people probably opposing tonight. And so I truly have listened. I think it's important because I think that this is an opportunity for a community and as well as a school district to work together. One of the things I would like to know from the superintendent is how long have we owned this property? Do you know what year they bought this property?
Yes, I do have a date in mind. I want to ensure that we get the exact date. I'm going to ask Dr. Adam Malloy to come forward. Dr. Malloy has that date.
Because I think that's important to note as well.
You can use the center podium.
Good evening. 2005.
2005.
Thank you, sir.
So, 2005, that's quite a long time. Something that Mrs. Fleming brought up, which is something I had already thought about and spoke to many people in the community, what would be the other option if there wasn't a school there? And I'm a realtor, so I know the option, and it would be housing or another community. I don't know what the community would want, housing or a school. Sounds like that's interesting. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I'm sorry.
No response.
I'm sorry. That was my...
I know.
And then, Mr. Chairman, if we could, because there are legal requirements, we'll consider this a first warning.
Thank you.
So one of the other questions that has come up, because I know I've had other people say, oh, I didn't realize that, but is there an opportunity to have, and this is for the superintendent, is there an opportunity to have an ag program there? Because I know that's what Riverdale had from when I went to school there. We had a huge 4-H club and agriculture, but it's not, I think it's growing back. They lost that for some time, but now I think it's going back there. Can you advise?
With our emerging partnerships with Florida Gulf Coast University regarding environmental science, as well as their agribusiness, and some of the other developments we have recently, we have been searching for an avenue and a place where young people interested in an agricultural career can study. As we make a selection and move forward with program, if we were to get past phase 1 and begin to look at the site, we could talk about agricultural additions, as well as when we appoint the principal, make it a priority for them to ensure that agricultural animal husbandry and those types of issues could potentially be a part of this campus.
Thank you. So with that, I think that's an opportunity for the community as well. I know personally, I have family members and friends that they did not get Riverdale High School as a seat. We are overcrowded at that school, and we need a school in that area. So, I mean, I have friends that lived within a 2-mile radius and did not get their first number school. They got sent to a different school, much farther from their home. So that concerns me. We need seats. We need seats for our students. God's not creating any more land for us. So I hesitate when we have this opportunity to not be able to have a school where the need is. Thank you.
Mr. Fisher.
Thank you. Most of my board members have pretty much gone through what my thoughts are. Not around here, but I grew up in a rural farm community, and I saw, unfortunately, when it got built up. So I definitely feel for all of you. I know what that's like. You know, there's a lot of different elements to this, but we have to look at a couple things, as Ms. Morgan talked about. So I have to look at this as a school board member, we all do, and what is in the best interest of the Lee County School District and our kids. And that's why I'm going to be supporting phase 1, at least at this point. So because it is the best interest, we've all ad nauseum have talked with staff. Somebody asked if we care. If we didn't care, I think it would have been fast tracked before. We pulled back on this, and we've had discussions, multiple discussions up here. We've had multiple discussions with the superintendent. I know we've had many have gone through the issues with this. We care, but we have to make the best decision for this district. And I'm sorry you're not going to agree with that. I really am. And it's tough. But I hope, you know, if things work out with phase 1, that we can work together with you. What Ms. Juvenelli had brought up, I was interested in seeing if we can get an agricultural element to it. I truly hope that. I think that's important. I don't think, as I said, I don't have anything else to add. Just thank you for your input. We truly have listened. I hope you know that. I hope it's not been deaf ears. So, as I said, it's tough, but this is the right decision. I'm going to support phase 1. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this will be a roll call vote. Oh, Ms. Jordan?
If I may, can I ask, through the chair, what happens if guns are going off? And you know how I feel about guns. So what happens if they're out on their range or in their backyard and guns are being shot? What would happen to our schools? I mean, what's going to happen to the kids in that school going through, what are they going to go through, and the mental health part? Just, can you just, maybe just, only because I heard that here the second time today about the guns.
I can answer that question from this position. Right now, I don't have enough information as to where these gun ranges are. I don't know that they're gun ranges per se. I thought I also heard this is a rural community in which the discharge of a firearm is permitted. Part of what phase 1 will also determine is the legality of that in proximity to a school building. Just like if there was an attempt later on to build a convenience store at the opposite corner. There's setbacks on alcohol sales and other things like that in proximity to a school building. Mrs. Jordan, this is only the second time I've heard that, and only the first time I've heard it in that level of depth. So we can certainly make sure that we have that researched.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Fisher?
Real quick, I forgot to mention, and us as the board, especially with phase 1, and I've mentioned this to the superintendent a couple of times, we really need to keep an eye on those costs and make sure that, you know, we're keeping what we need to. I know that's been a point for many of us, so I just want to make sure we keep aware of that. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, now we'll do our roll call vote. This will be a roll call, so you say aye or nay, or however you want to say it. Mr. Fisher?
Aye.
Mrs. Giovanelli?
Yes.
Ms. Patrica?
Yes, please.
Ms. Jordan?
I'm going to say no.
Ms. Langford Fleming?
Nay.
Ms. Morgan?
Aye.
And I am an aye for going through phase 1 here. Okay, the motion carries 5-2. Next on our agenda is to go to the order, other business. Board members' comments and reports. Mr. Fisher?
Just briefly, I was able to attend.
Maybe we need to wait.
Okay, we'll pause a moment.
Chair.
You have a little pink square. I know, I don't know where it came from. Isn't it? Oh, sugar. I hope they don't.
Okay, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Chair. I'm part of the Lee County Drug-Free Coalition, and one of the things they will be hosting is a drug house odyssey. They have this yearly, so I know many of you were. I can.
Can I pause you?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I forgot our students. It's been so long since we've had one here. Michael, would you please?
Yes, and thank you and good evening. First, I would like to thank the board, Superintendent Bernier, Mr. Ramirez, and the ladies in the superintendent's office and board office. Tonight has given me an appreciation for the work of the board and all staff here at the district. Throughout my 12 years as a student here, I've experienced a lot in schools. I like to go back in time for a bit and thank Pelican Elementary and Gulf Middle School. Those two schools were and remain dedicated to their students and stakeholders. At these schools, I have been exposed to hundreds of lessons which have fostered my love for history and my desire to become an educator here in the county. I have had dozens of excellent teachers. Some of the most influential were, it's a long list, Mrs. Vidal, Mrs. Robinson, Dr. Romano, who was here earlier, Mr. Siegel, Mr. Padula, Mr. Anzo, Mrs. Morse, Mrs. Rivera, Mrs. Nelson, Mrs. Poella, Mrs. Reyes, Mr. Holfeld, and Mr. Cotta. But also there's so many other teachers that I wish I could recognize. These are the teachers that I hope to be like one day, and I sure hope I can impact at least one student the way they've impacted my life. I'd like to thank the best school counselor, Mrs. Conforti, for the work she does and impact she has had on my journey in high school. She has made me go from a student struggling to see the value of high school and lacking in attendance to completing both my AA and high school diploma a whole semester early. This opportunity for students should be expanded on and should be advertised to students. This program has allowed me to save not only 2 years of college, but also roughly $20,000 worth of tuition at other schools. This program can greatly benefit those students who may not be able to afford college after high school, and I believe that the district should advertise this more to students and parents so that many more can achieve what I have done at zero cost to them. I would also love to thank the School District of Lee County for allowing me to complete my AA along with my high school diploma. And I'd also like to thank the teachers that spoke today, because I completely agree with what they said. Also, I would like to highlight some very big issues that I feel need to be addressed. I want to make note that after last night's bargaining, I believe that the district truly remains dedicated to increasing pay of staff. And I believe that our staff, not only our teachers, but every member of school-based staff, remain the foundation of this district. Our students spend countless hours a year surrounded by staff who devote their lives to the students. In my own opinion, they are not compensated as they deserve. Many members of this staff are struggling to make ends meet with their current compensation, especially in today's economy. I understand that the district is not immune to the ongoing issues of our economy. However, I'm confident that some money is being spent on uses that would not benefit all stakeholders nearly as much as increasing staff pay. As a future educator, I understand that teachers do not enter this field for the pay. It is entered for the love and passion of educating others. But the truth is that when I become a teacher, I will not be able to purchase a home here in Lee County if circumstances remain. Unfortunately, going to college does not guarantee a good salary anymore. This is the case for some professions. However, the same for our educators here in Lee County. I missed a line. If we wish to remain and attract talented educators, We need to be paying a world-class pay if we wish to one day be a world-class school system. At this point in time, it is a shame that we are far from that. However, I am hopeful that through the work of this board and Superintendent Bernier, that the outcome that the community hopes for will be reached. And after last night's meeting, I'm even more confident of this than I was when I originally prepared this speech. Last, I'm worried and disappointed of the outcome of House Bill number 497. In 2022, Lee County voters chose that electing a superintendent was an option they wanted. However, I'm concerned for the future of the school district. With this coming into effect next year, I believe that our schools may become more politically influenced. With an elected superintendent, we risk that our students will no longer be the focus of our superintendent. If our community elects a politically charged person in office, the board now also is tasked with deciding how much that superintendent will be paid. After watching today's briefing, I must agree with option 1 being the best. As Ms. Morgan said, we need to keep our talented administrators in this district. And if we lower their pay, they're going to leave to Collier, Charlotte, wherever they want to go. I also am hopeful that our residents will choose a superintendent who is well qualified and who keeps politics out of our classrooms. I feel the best person for this job is Dr. Bernier. If he does not run, I believe that this county, this community has lost something good. Dr. Bernier was thrown into the worst hurricane that many of us have ever experienced, and yet he managed to defy all odds and reopen schools so quickly. Dr. Bernier will have my full support if he runs for office, and I hope that our community would as well. He has been the best superintendent we have had in many years. And last part, I owe so much to this district and many of the teachers I have had. I look forward to continuing my higher education and returning here to make a difference in the lives of students. I once again want to thank the board, superintendent, and staff. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thank you. Well done.
Well done. Mr. Fisher.
It'd be a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Menendez, great job, great thoughts. I really like how involved you are and how you pay attention to the issues. That's very important, especially at your age. I'm very impressed by that. So, and congratulations. It sounds like you've done an amazing job in school, and I hope you can come back to us. I don't know if Dr. Bernier can sign you up to a contract right now, but thanks. As I was mentioning before, I'm on the Lee County Drug-Free Coalition organization, and one of the things they do is the Drug House Odyssey. Yearly they do this, and it's basically, unfortunately, a replay of scenarios in person of what could happen, you know, with drugs or drinking, things like those. What are the possible outcomes, including things within the court system. It's a great program. And I know they're looking for high school drama volunteers for that, and I believe it's in February, so I would ask if any of you can see if any would be interested and send them over that way. So in Cape Coral last week, I attended the 9/11 Remembrance. It was a very moving ceremony. I thought they did a great job, and I want to applaud the city of Cape Coral for that. I also want to thank, I don't know if he's in here right now, but Director Newland and the security staff, especially for their rollout right now of Open Gate, and the attention to detail and what they're doing to protect our children, our staff members, our teachers. So I truly thank him and the department for that. Last off, I also want to, as has been discussed up here, obviously in the middle of bargaining, but I believe I speak for the rest of my board members, and they'll probably say the same thing. You know, we're listening to you, we hear you. We support teachers, we support staff, we support all of you, and we know how hard you're working and how much is on your plates right now. I want you to know that has not gone unnoticed. Obviously, you know, as I said, the superintendent said, you know, there's some offers made, and we can't go into specific details right now. It's just the beginning, but I'm looking forward to making sure that everyone is in a good place. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
I'll be quick. I just want to thank everybody that came out and spoke tonight. We do hear you, and I really appreciate you coming forward and speaking. It's important to advocate for yourself, for your students, for your community. That's really important, because without a voice, then no one hears anything. So I appreciate that. Congratulations to all the new appointments tonight. I look forward to them having a great year. I also just wanted to thank the student rep, because thank you for that. It's good to have your perspective. That's why we like having representation on the board at our evening. Come back again, and if we can keep you here, we would love to keep you here. But thank you for your perspective. It's very important. And that's really all I have this evening. Thank you.
Ms. Patrica.
I just want to thank our student. That was really, really outstanding. I don't know that I've ever sat at this table and had a student representative have such a deep understanding of the issues that we're addressing. And your voice will go a long way toward helping us solve some of these issues. So thank you, and best of luck to you. If you ever need anything, look me up. I'll help you.
Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. Dittos to you, Michael, as well. Yeah, you were great. And you were nervous, but you were wonderful, see?
Yeah.
You did a great job. I gave my report earlier for EDAC this afternoon, and I just wanted to share, this past week I stopped by Bayshore, where they had hosted over 160 freshman students from FGCU to get them excited about teaching. They were all over. The little fifth graders had their little tutus on and all different, their house colors, and they were excited about being the ones who were bringing the big people around to the classrooms. So there was a lot of excitement there for 2 days, a lot of work, and I need to thank the principal and all his team for doing that, and our HR as well department did a great job getting all those people there. Also, I attended, and Ms. Giovanelli was there too, the Quality of Life Center did their annual breakfast meeting, and they shared with us all the good things that was taking place, what they were doing with our students to make sure and to ensure the outcome that they have a higher achievement. So they're very engaged, and they're going to continue that. We had some of our students participated in this past weekend, the Latin Jazz Festival downtown at Fort Myers Amphitheater, which they did an excellent job as always. And Franklin Park is going through their Franklin Park community partnership schools are going through their certification, which they have to do every 3 years. So they're gathering all their data and information to make it through that. And then the last thing is tomorrow's the STEM kickoff event at Coconut Point. And just want to thank everybody for being here, but especially you, Michael. Thank you. It always makes it great when we do have students. Makes us feel good. Thank you.
Ms. Langford Fleming.
So lots of great things happening in Lee County School District. I think we forget to think about all these wonderful things. Homecoming kickoff has started with South Fort Myers, and man, what an incredible night. Miss Giovanelli was there, so I don't know if you made it to the pep rally. I didn't get to go, and that's the one thing I wanted to do this last week was go to the pep rally. But some super fun things happening at our school, and I'm excited about that for our students to have that real high school, elementary, middle school experience. I feel like we're kind of like on a roll. Let's just keep going, guys. But also this evening we got to walk the hallways of this amazing artwork. We have so many talented students and so many wonderful art teachers that are, you know, just diving in head first with these kids. So I appreciate that. And you know, always to the constituent, the community, no matter what the topic is, we're so grateful that you take the time out of your evening to come and share your thoughts with us, because I always used to say to my students, I can't help you if I don't know what's broken. I can't help you fix it if you don't tell me what's broken. So I appreciate all of the comments that come forward to the board. Michael, you're the type of student who would have made an imprint on my heart, so I'm a little jealous I never got to have you in my classroom. But as a former educator of 20 years, you are walking into hopefully a profession that is far beyond a monetary value, and I don't say that lightly at all. I understand what teachers are going through right now, but The amount of impact teaching has on your own life is something you cannot put a dollar on. So I hope that throughout your education, if you decide to stick with this career, that kind of helps push you through those hard classes and those hard days. So thank you for being here, and looking forward to this week and Friday night lights at all of our Friday night games. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Ms. Morgan.
Yes, so I too want to thank you, Michael. You were just so well spoken, so thoughtful, and clearly you have dived deep into what we're doing here in the district and on the board. My only comment is about the art walk. I love the art walk. I want to piggyback on what Ms. Fleming said. Thank you to all of the teachers who are participating in the Arts Fine or performing whatever. I think those opportunities for kids, for many kids, are what keep them in school. I will tell you that I went to a gallery in Naples a couple weeks ago for an invitational, the gallery had invited local artists that they felt were of note. And I looked at a pen and ink sketch, and I called my friends over and I said, look at that. I see that in the halls in the district office. The quality of work that some of our kids are able to do is just astonishing. And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, we have hundreds of pieces of student work. Mm-hmm. And there are pieces that our students do that would be very comfortable in this gallery representing this part of the Southwest Florida. So those are my comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And Michael, I also congratulate you on such a great.
Yeah.
We have a program where a senior writes a letter to his favorite teacher. Make sure you maybe can get that done before you graduate there.
He might have to write 10.
I know. My next thought was if you can choose one. But anyway, it brings tears to their eyes when they read them. Mm-hmm. So it really is an amazing program. The artwork was awesome. My favorite, my wife spotted it first, was Charcoal Tiger.
Oh, I saw that
so
one.
neat.
I saw that one.
But all of them were so good. And to watch the parents be so proud and take pictures of especially the little kids in front of some of them were as tall as they were hung, but it was really good. So that's all I have really tonight, other than the football. I missed the game I wanted to go to because I was a little bit under the weather, the Dunbar-Fort Myers. Darn that Dunbar team. But anyway, I think they won by 1 point. It was a really great game. I really wanted to go to it. Attorney Dufay, do you have any comments for tonight?
I do. Michael, your comments were wonderful, and one thing that lawyers rely a lot on is their ability to discern. We have something that requires, is one of our skill sets, is discernment. And I will say that I have a feeling once you get that doctorate in education, we may be looking at another superintendent. So I really wish you the best of luck. I think you have a very bright future ahead of you.
Thank you. I was afraid you were going to ask him to go to law school next.
Yeah, me too.
I was just going to no.
That's what I thought she was doing.
Dr. Bernier.
I was very interested in where she was going because I was going to redirect him back into the field of education if at all possible. Michael, we need to do some more, we have to have some more conversation. As a former history major who went on to get his doctorate, we have a lot in common. I can't tell you to the board how appreciative I've been of a young man joining our team and just being like an amazing intern. He's just become part of the process. He's a self-starter. He gets everything done that he needs to get done. When he has stuff finished, he asks for more. So often when we look into our media and into our newspapers and into sometimes our television sets, the depiction of our youth is not what it should be. I suspect that Michael, while unique in his own right, is much more representative of the young people that go to our schools each and every day than sometimes the ones we see characterized on our televisions. Your goal and your work ethic regarding an AA and your high school diploma at the same time is a metric that we are tracking. We want to see those numbers continue to rise because they change trajectory of lives faster. And when you are ready, Mr. Dodig or someone in the HR department will be ready. Hillary McLean, myself, will be ready to make sure that you have a front row, front seat. But just don't forget, we were talking about this earlier, don't forget your money for fingerprinting. Sorry, that's probably not in the best taste considering tonight. I do want to thank the teachers and the Alva residents. I know that the Alva residents primarily are gone, but those of you who remain back, thank you for at least staying through the comments and being a part of, you know, us being able to close out by saying, we have heard this is a phase one. You know, this does not mean the school is being built. We may run into other issues, but let's do our due diligence. Let's find out what we have on this site, and if necessary, then we take the next step. If there are issues and concerns in the way, then my recommendation, especially if it's cost prohibitive, will be to wait. That's how we get to a guaranteed maximum price, which is something that previous in our builds we were not doing. And I think that gives us a very informed place with which to make a decision. I really don't have anything really extra to add, but I did want to just say that I also enjoy the artwork every year. There's pieces of art that I have asked for and been lucky enough to have been gifted that hang in my office. There's always one in particular that will catch your eye, and our students are always very gracious, and I will tell you, in some cases they are for sale. Today I was talking to a student who told me that it was the most precious piece of artwork she had ever created. I was very clear I could not afford that piece of artwork, so I have moved on because she has created a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. It's really incredible. I do also want to reflect the work of the team regarding Open Gate, but not just Mr. Newland. I want to reflect back on our high school principals, our assistant principals, our security guards, our guardians, and all those individuals who now are responsible for another layer of safety and security at our school buildings. Many of them doing it and doing it very well. We did have some, you'll always notice when we initially implement, we have a little bit of issue getting all the students in time. I'm happy to report that while a particular high school in the last couple of days started late, today they were all in by 7:05. So we got better over by 35 minutes within one day. Wow. So it's a matter of just educating, teaching, being patient with people, and I look forward to all of our schools having the Century technology and creating a better opportunity for safety for our children. Lastly, we are going to continue to send out a bargaining summary. We will work with our unions to make those joint statements where we can. But in the cases where we can't, we really do feel that it's important that we tell the story of what, in this particular case, what this school board and what this school district put on the table, not only for our teachers, but also we provided a very clear last sentence to that document that should have been very clear to the other unions and to the other employees that are ununionized or not unionized, that we have a direct support and plan for each and every one of our employees. And again, I thank this board for your vision. Thank you for the executive session last week that allowed us to move those additional dollars out of solving a future problem to solve the current problem. And now we can look maybe next year to how we continue to build on the great work that we did this year. So thank you. The work is not done yet with bargaining. There's still a lot of work to be done with a number of unions, and SPALC meets again tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that opportunity so that they're aware of the generous offer that you are making to that employee base as well. So thank you.
And thank you. Our next scheduled meeting is on Wednesday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did not see you.
No, my bad. But I feel the need to make a comment about interest-based bargaining. I wonder, with all of the turnover in staff that we've had, whether everybody understands what interest-based bargaining is and what our boundaries are with respect to our role in the interest-based bargaining process. So actually, I had made a note at one point to talk to Dr. Bernier in my one-on-one to make certain that people in HR and new board members were given an opportunity to understand what interest-based bargaining is and why we have why we put some of the limitations on it we do, and why we have to be careful about how we communicate. So thank you for indulging me,
No
Mr.
problem.
Chair.
Don't ever do it again. No, just Our next scheduled meeting is on Wednesday, September 27th.
I know.
There'll be a board workshop at 12 p.m. And on Tuesday, October 3rd, there'll be a board briefing at 1 p.m. and a board action meeting at 6 p.m. At this point, seeing no other business to come before this body and seeing no objection, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 8:14.